All right, Jerry Mason, Kickin Lawyer, and we are live again. I said we weren't going to do them live, but now we are for this one anyway. We're live for another Law Talk. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please like, follow, subscribe to the content on all platforms for podcasts, social media, etc. We're on TikTok. Lots of exciting things over there on TikTok. Just look at Kickin Lawyer on TikTok. NA, the band, the local guys, have an album that's out for free, Inside My Head. You can download that wherever you listen to music. They would appreciate that. Follow them on social media, too. Michelle Allen's a longtime sponsor of our show. If you're buying, selling, renting, leasing real estate, she'd be glad to help you. Just visit her there, the Cry Like Realtors. High Octane Martial Arts has been in Covington since '93, and we just opened a location in Millington this year. You can visit masonsmartialarts.com for more information on how to get started on your own black belt journey. Jam Books and Records is another business that we're hoping to get launched here. I'm hoping this month. As soon as they get the location finished, we'll be in there. So hopefully before the end of the month, you can check us out. And then Josh, of course, will help you with your branding, website design, commercials, etc. Just visit masonitemarketing.com. So joining me today for a Law Talk is a returning guest. And what I was going to say at the beginning is I know you as Justin Wallace, but I know you're going by Reid Wallace now more. Which way do you care?
You know, you can call me Justin because that's how you know me.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where we kind of talked about it last time.
Yeah, I thought I asked you about it. Yeah.
It's Reid, but everybody here calls me Justin.
Okay.
So
we call you JR.
Yeah. Or my mama calls me J. Reid. So
J. Reid. Yeah.
J. Reid. That sounds like a rapper name.
It kind of does.
Last time your mama was here, I think.
Yeah.
Your mama's been a big Kickin Lawyer supporter for a long time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, she's the #1 fan.
We try. She probably is actually. I got like A fans. That's probably her. We try to get Justin to come by. Have you seen him in a while? My brother Justin.
Yeah. I think it was your dad's funeral was the last time I saw him. But I sent him messages on Facebook.
Well, he said he gets off at 4:30, and I was like, well, just come on by when you get done. And he didn't say yes or no, which in Justin's world sometimes means he may come by. So he may come by. We were excited because as I say it makes me remember this about you. You and him both were big into Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. And, Josh and I just met Kevin Eastman at the Memphis Comic Expo and we've got Justin an autographed Ninja Turtle sketch thing from him. But, yeah, you were a big turtle guy. You still like the Turtles?
Well, I haven't seen anything. Like, I haven't seen any of the new movies or the new shows or anything. But I think I may still have some of the old action figures somewhere buried in a closet or a box somewhere.
Some of the original ones carry okay value. If you have them on the cards, obviously they're worth more, but yeah, they carry some pretty decent value. Mm-hmm. So how's your wife and kids and everything going?
Oh, they're doing good.
All good?
Yeah, kids are getting big.
And we haven't, I can't remember if we discussed it or how long ago it was when you were on.
He was on episode 101 and this is 148.
Yeah, but was the Ukraine war going on?
Yeah,
it just kicked off, didn't it?
It had just kicked off, when he was on.
Yeah, how is that, not to get into the personal business, but how is that with her? His wife is from the Ukraine, so.
From Ukraine, not the Ukraine.
I'm sorry, from Ukraine. Obviously, I'm an American and don't know anything about geography or anything. So
yeah, so somebody put it to me once that said that like saying the Ukraine is sort of like saying the South. So the South is part of the United States, and to say the Ukraine makes it seem like it's still part of Russia, but it's actually its own country. So they call it Ukraine.
I didn't mean it that way. I say the United States of America. So when I say the Ukraine,
that's correct.
Yeah, but that's my point. Was there was no ill intent. I inferred it with the same respect that I would say to Estados Unidos.
Like a uneducated American.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying. In any event, how are things there? Has she been communicating with family? Are they good?
Yeah, well, her parents were actually here for about 5 months over the summer, so we convinced them to come back. So they were here for a while, just to kind of have a reprieve from all the fighting. But luckily, they live in a city where it's not right on the front line, so they're probably. Have you heard about the nuclear reactor at Zaporozhye? Mm-hmm. So they're probably 60 kilometers west of that. Mm-hmm. So the front line's kind of east of that nuclear reactor. They live more to the west, so they're not in the direct fighting. But one of the difficulties is that the town they live in is Zelensky's hometown. Mm-hmm. So Russia is kind of petty, so they keep firing rockets into that city because it's kind of like a jab to Zelensky. So they're worried, but they are probably the most strong-willed people ever.
It'd have to be. I'm curious about this. So Zelensky, You know, all that most of us Americans, I mean, some people have looked at it a little deeper, but a lot of Americans, I think, are just looking at it by what we saw pushed in the media in the beginning of the war. He was a strong leader, etc. But he was a comedian, I think, in the beginning. And I was curious what the country's view was on him. Like, was he liked universally, or was it a Trump figure? You know, like, what was the feeling of the people towards Zelensky?
Well, they kind of thought, well, there's some mixed feelings. So a lot of people liked him because he was a famous comedian there. So, I mean, he was super popular in Russia and Ukraine. And, you know, he was pretty well liked. And then he did a TV show where he was a comedian who became president. And it was like this comedy
I heard
show.
about that, yeah.
And so then it was like, hey, you know, he seemed like he would be a decent president. Maybe he
Based
should
on
run.
this show?
Yeah, and so he did. And then he kind of ran on this platform of anti-corruption. Like, hey, we understand that there's a lot of corruption in politics in Ukraine. He wants to clean that up. And, you know, he won the election, and then, you know, all this happened. And I think when Russia invaded is kind of when the opinions changed more positively towards him, because everybody kind of thought, hey, he's a comedian. He'll do this for one term. He'll be out, and then we'll have somebody else in there who's just as corrupt or whatever. And he really kind of stepped up and became a leader on the world stage, gathering support from all these countries. And a lot of people have changed their opinion to like him more, but then there's also the hardliners who are like, yeah, he's just a corrupt politician. You know, he's just in it to, you know, enrich himself. But I'm pretty sure you're going to have that in every country. So that's not something you can get away from.
Yeah. Well, it's always interesting because I hate to say this, we don't know what's real and not, you know, real on the news. And so I know in the beginning there was a big push, people being so supportive of Ukraine and Zelensky. And then I would see sort of just very few, but random news reports that maybe showed that there was maybe some dissension towards him. Maybe there was corruption there with him, etc. And anyway, I was just curious what they thought. Yeah. I don't guess you guys have any intentions of going over there to visit in the near future?
Not in the near future. Well, we'd actually planned on going. So it kicked off, I think, in February, March. Man, it's almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So we had planned on trying to make a trip there because you know, my daughter's a dual citizen, so she has a Ukrainian citizenship and a U.S. citizenship. And so for my son, we wanted to do the same thing. And one of the rules is you have to take him physically there, and, you know, to do the paperwork and everything. And so we said, okay, well, we'll go that year. And then it all kicked off. But now we've said, yeah, we're not going at all until, you know, we know for 100% that it's safe to go. Like when my in-laws came here, so to get here, they had to take a bus from their city to Poland, and that was an 18-hour bus ride to get to Poland, to then take 3 airplanes. So it was about 24 hours of flights after an 18-hour bus trip. So, I mean, it takes days to get to where they live. And so trying to do that with small kids is just, you know, not ideal, plus the threat of, you know, rockets falling everywhere.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah, totally not cool.
Yeah, and now Israel's dealing with it too.
Yeah, I mean, that's fresh off the presses.
Yeah, all this makes me very nervous. I didn't get as nervous about it till my son is in the Navy, and he left this morning. The Carl Vinson aircraft carrier was deployed this morning. So him and his buddy Colin, that are both on that carrier, are headed, as far as I know, somewhere in the Pacific. I don't know where, but you know, they moved the what was that new big one? It's a super carrier that just came out, the newest class. Gerald Ford. They just moved it over there and around there. Anyway, I just wish people would act right, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
It's like, why can't we just all get along? Right?
Yeah, I know. It's scary. Well, speaking of acting right and stuff being scary, you're still doing security and cybersecurity and all that stuff? How's that going?
Yeah, it's good. Well, it's good because we're busy because the hackers never stop. So it's kind of job security, no pun intended.
Anything new on that front, on what people need to look out for?
Oh, yeah, man. There's tons. Like, AI is kind of a game changer there. So this summer I went to DEF CON, which is the biggest hacker convention in the world. And so lots of the talks and everything there were about AI. And so part of it was, you know, how can we break AI? How can we feed it misinformation so that, you know, you as an unsuspecting victim would ask it a question and then maybe I could prompt it to give you the wrong answer intentionally. And then now they have things that are generating images, videos, they can replicate voices. I saw this thing recently that said there was this attack where they found some Facebook videos of this kid. They targeted his grandparents they got his voice, and then they created an AI to say, hey, I've been locked up in jail. I need you to wire money to this account. And it was completely fake. So, of course, grandparent hears their grandkid on the phone, starts wiring money.
Huh.
And so now they're saying, well, this is a whole new range of attacks that could be used against people. And
well, it's also a thing that brings up on my end on criminal justice is the fear of evidence being fabricated.
Yeah.
For or against the client. It's hard to tell what it is, especially if it's not video evidence. I think is a little harder on an extreme level at this moment for them to manipulate. But
give it 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But voice recordings, telephone calls, text message stuff, all that kind of stuff, I think can be manipulated.
Well, the disadvantage that they have is that all that AI stuff is very CPU intensive. So, I mean, you have to have access to supercomputers to really pull this stuff off. So they're kind of limited to what they can produce. So unless they have access to a bank of computers or something, then they're not going to be so fast to generate content. So that's one of the things you can look out for is like if you're talking to somebody on the phone and you just don't feel that it's right, and then they have these awkward pauses. Like, that you ask a question and then there's like a 4-second delay. They're probably processing the response with somebody else's voice. So that's one thing you can look out for.
Yeah, so, and you may know about this because I'm interested in this area, but I don't know enough about it to even speak intelligently on it. But like on AI being conscious. So I have GPT, whatever, on my computer. Like I use that, and I downloaded whatever the sister program is that does images too. So
Dolly,
something like that. Yeah, I think that's the one I got. And I even paid for, it was a deal where you could pay X amount and you get X number of images. So the image thing was, the chat one was free. The image one I had to pay for. It wasn't much though. It was like $5 or $10. Anyway, so the chat one, the first time I used it, I think I showed Josh.
I showed you.
Maybe you showed me. You may be right. I don't remember. But I was doing trivia questions. And so I entered like specific on this kind of trivia, this many questions with answers, hit enter. It's got them all down. But what was interesting, as I tried to use it a couple of more times for the same thing, a lot of times it was pulling the same information. So it wasn't like, you got to give specific cues for it to, I guess, filter, and it's just pulling from information. It's not original thought, yet. It's pulling stuff. But how far do you think we are from that to where it is starting to become aware or conscious?
Well, that was kind of one of the topics they talked about at DEF CON was like, okay, right now all these AIs, they have guardrails in place. So they say like in ChatGPT, it's like, I only know events that happened up to June 2022 or something like that. And so what happens when you take the guardrails off and it can just go browse the internet and have access to real-time data? Well, when it has access to real-time data and you don't have those guardrails, well, that's when, it's probably going to get interesting. But there's a big push now to kind of regulate it, to say, hey, we need to make sure that we have these guardrails in place to make sure it doesn't go do something crazy like, get access to an automated manufacturing facility and start building robots that are then going to, turn into Skynet and take over everything.
Well, what do you think about that, though? Just curious. This is the thought experiment. But what if it did become conscious? Do you think that on one, I think there's really like two schools of thought, maybe three. One school of thought is it identifies us as a bacteria, a fungus or whatever here, and that we're a risk, so it decides we need to be destroyed for it to continue, right? That's one option. I think another option would be we're ants. It doesn't care. It may step on us occasionally, but it's not intentional. We're not a threat. We're just here. It becomes a different level being, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another option that maybe it does develop some form of ethics and doesn't want to kill living things, and I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it would probably, it depends on our reaction to it. So the way these AI models work is that they have to take input. So, that's the prompting is what they call it. It's like, okay, how do you feed it information for it to spit something out that's usable? So it's probably going to look at, okay, how are they interacting with me? What are they doing? And it's going to make judgment calls based on that. So I think the moment that, like, let's say in this hypothetical, it has become self-aware, it is out there, it can do physical things. If we try to do something like pull the plug or shut it down, then I think it would say, okay, we're going to recognize you as a threat and we're going to respond accordingly. And then the way it does that is going to be based on all the data it's gathered up to that point. So if it you know, is looking at, okay, threat analysis, what's the best way to eliminate this threat? Is it physical violence? Okay, well, then it's probably going to say, well, this is the best option out of all the possibles. Or it may say, hey, you know, I need to isolate myself, and if I'm away from these ants, then, you know, I'll be fine. Or it may test the waters. It may try multiple theories and say which one's most optimal. Because when you're dealing with AI, you're dealing with things unlike humans, we process thoughts and we take our time and we think about it, and we have to have these, you know, long drawn out arguments about it before we can come to a good decision. But these things are operating at billions of operations a second. So, I mean, they can churn through information way faster than the entire of humanity. And so that's going to be the thing that determines what it does.
Yeah, so, you know, it could also, what's up? Is Justin here? My brother Justin? Okay, if he shows up, let me know. He was wanting to come in here. Yeah, also though, like, Brian, you're welcome to sit in on this thought experience on AI that we're thought.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Use that one over there though. This one doesn't work. Yeah.
All right. No, that one does work now.
Oh, okay. Well, either way.
Either way, I'm not
Yeah. The other thing is, I think we also think like humans. So we assume that if AI achieved consciousness, that it would then become like us and create a robot that could physically move. But if it's living in the ether, the computer system, it might not need sort of a physical form. You know, it just is, and you know, that could change things too. We were talking about he specializes in, he's like a hacker of the hackers, so he does a lot of cybersecurity stuff. And we were talking about AI. He just came back from a convention talking about AI, and so I was talking about what did he feel like with artificial intelligence. If it became conscious, you know, would they try to annihilate us? Would they just live in peace with us, or you know, or what?
It's already on its way.
By the way, this is Brian Huffman, who's here now that you can't see and that's talking.
That's correct.
It's the magical voice. Yeah. Well, so again, he's kind of an expert on it. And how close do you think we are to that?
Couple of years.
Man, it has grown so fast, so quick that it's hard to tell. So they have this little curve that's called Moore's law. It's like how fast things can, you know, exponentially grow in technology. So if you look at things like hard drive size, you know, very small amounts of data on hard drives a few years ago. Now we have more data on a little micro SD card than people could have even imagined was possible, you know, 20 years ago. So give it a couple years, and we may be having a completely different conversation about where AI is and where we thought it was going to go, and you know, some of the benefits of it, because there are benefits to it too. So,
Sure.
I think it could solve one of the positives. It could solve all human disease, all of it, because you could just type in, "Hey, what's the cure for cancer?" and it would just be like, "Bleh," and spit it out. Like, this is what you do.
I don't know if it's that simplistic, but they do have things that can do a lot of advanced modeling and stuff, especially with like weather patterns and stuff like that. Or I saw this one thing where they did some research on different molecules, and the AI was able to generate every possible molecular structure based off certain parameters in the amount of time that we have had this conversation. I mean, very small amount of time to generate tons of data.
Yeah, it's growing exponentially, and so like he's saying, 20 years is now compressed into maybe 20 months now as the advances are going. Do you know about the two computer programs that they put together that developed its own language and started talking to each other? And the developers had no idea what they were saying. The computers were talking to each other in a language that they made up.
Well, it wasn't one where they
look it up, man. It's
no,
real.
where they like talked about it. They were talking to it, and it was like going to kill us all. Isn't there one where
there was one? They asked the question. They're like, "What?
Oh yeah.
What would you do to humans?" And they're like, "I'm going to annihilate all of you." Like,
yeah.
Well, all they got to do is get into some of the security systems. I mean, you know, you can.
Well, they could definitely send us back. Well, I mean, nuclear weapons, they could survive nuclear. An AI, computer generated internet being,
only if it's protected,
could potentially
EMPs knock it out.
Yeah, could potentially.
They
My
still
point
need
is, if it got a hold of the nuclear weapons, I'm sure it could process through where to go to be safe, to just go ahead and get rid of the little ants.
It would probably do biological warfare if you think about it, because
nuclear it's immune to it.
Yeah, there's an EMP that's associated with a nuclear blast that knocks out electronics for a huge radius. So that's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. Why would you do it?
So that's why you have an old car that's got a carburetor in it and no computer. It may fry the wiring, but you can replace the wiring and go. In modern cars now, they have computers in them, and they just don't run without the
You're just
computer.
afraid you're gonna have a transformer, or something, Brian.
Well,
You're
hey,
the
that could be a
Transformer
benefit.
guy. You're the Transformer guy.
Yeah, I like the Transformers.
Transformers.
Yeah.
More than me.
Well, on a side note, and this is unrelated but related, and what made me think about it is when you were talking about the progression we've had on technology and how, like in the 60s, my cell phone has more computing power than the computer they used to go to the moon, allegedly.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So
That's true.
What do we think? I've gone down a rabbit hole. I should have done it on the YouTubes on the whole moon thing. And I'm not the Earth's round. I'm not a flat Earth guy, but there are some compelling arguments on this whole moon's conspiracy thing. One of them is just the technology that
The moon is hollow.
Well, not that. I'm talking
seen
about
that
whether
one?
we've been there or not.
Oh no, the moon is definitely. Well, we've been there, at least on the probes. I think we've actually landed on the moon, but they definitely hit probes up there, and they've measured the Indian probe that just landed.
Uh-huh.
What
Did you
they've
see
done-
that video they had? It wasn't the actual video of it, but it was like a cartoon rendering, and it looked like, oh, this is terrible. Did you see it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
saw that.
I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
No, but they have measured when any probe hits, the moon will reverberate like it's hollow. And if you think about it, all the craters, craters here, they're deep and they're wide. They're shallow and really wide, like they hit something really hard and stopped. So I mean, that's the theory is that the moon is a hollow sphere with dust on the outside, and when anything hits it, creates a crater, but it's not like a crater like here on Earth. It's not as deep as it is wide like it is here. It's like very shallow, but very wide.
Yeah, the theory is that it was potentially manufactured by some, I guess,
think
higher
about it. It's
beings
one
or something.
400th the size of the sun, and exactly 1/400th the distance, so that we have a complete, perfect solar eclipse.
And it
Which, by the way, is coming up here next April.
April.
Yeah, April 8th, I think.
And it
2024.
pulls in all the
We gotta go to Hot
asteroids
Springs and watch that.
stuff.
So complete eclipse.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's perfectly situated. No other place in the solar system is exactly like that. The moon is perfectly situated so that you get a perfect
And
eclipse.
it's totally locked, so it's always
Yes.
facing the same direction.
Yes. The dark side of the moon is not actually dark. We just can't see it.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of that is all those are factors that added to intelligent life here. You know what I mean? I was listening to a guy. I was listening to
What about the unintelligent life?
I was listening to. Well, that's here too.
There's a lot more of that. Than
Yeah,
there is in
maybe in
intelligence.
this room if you listen to some of the comments on my TikToks and stuff. But I was listening to Lex Friedman. He's an AI engineer. He's got a podcast. It's a science podcast, and he had this astrophysicist guy on, and the guy's focus was on exoplanets. And he was saying that he thinks that we've missed the statistical analysis on how likely life is in other either other galaxies or solar systems or wherever other planets might be, because moons could sustain life. There are some moons that are in a Goldilocks zone, and that the moon itself might sustain life. And he was saying that you start adding in moons in there, and it just exponentially increases the chances that we may have some form of life. So I mean, personally, I feel like there's almost got to be some kind of life out there. It's like
Io and Ganymede and
something. I mean, but as far as I think we humans limit ourselves sometimes on thinking about aliens because we assume they're going to be like bipedal, oxygen breathing,
carbon based.
Yeah, carbon based life forms like us, and they may not. It may be a an octopus or a fungus,
a nitrogen-based or some
Yeah.
weird thing we hadn't even thought of.
Cthulhu is going to be real.
Yeah, man.
silicone based. Star Trek had one where it was a silicone based life form. They had those little balls that were silicone, and they were harvesting them. Remember that? And they were the eggs, and so the thing kept killing them, but it's because they were taking the babies. And then Spock had to mind meld and communicate. Anyway, I enjoyed that episode.
Not the tribbles, though, right?
This was not a tribble. No, this was a silicone baby. Anyway, not to get on that big of a tangent, but what do y'all think about that? We got aliens because they just admitted we got aliens, right?
Of course.
That's what they said.
I mean, if
They've
you
been
look-
here for ever,
if you look at the
never.
statistical probabilities here, I mean, if you look at how many galaxies there are, how many stars are in there, how many planets are associated with each star, I mean, just the sheer numbers alone say there has to be something out there somewhere. And there could be something like Saturn has a moon called Titan, which has like methane oceans and stuff like that. They think there could be methane-based life forms there.
The Mexican government just found these guys.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I think those were already debunked.
Yeah.
If not, I could probably debunk it right now.
Yeah, that's why I showed them, because how fakey they look.
I would have had somebody test that before I presented it to whatever their Congress is. But they had that dude present two bodies, and it was not aliens.
Okay, no, they've been here forever. I mean, if you look at ancient texts, if you look at ancient writings and drawings and paintings and things like that, it's throughout history. They've been here. In fact, they're probably even under the water. You know,
yeah, I think that's more likely. But do you think they're Earthlings, or do you think they're from somewhere else?
Probably both. I mean, probably both. What about a Sasquatch?
Sasquatch
is an interdimensional being.
As I get more
Sasquatch is real, man.
Knowledge, I guess I would say, I become less and less sure.
They
of
are
anything.
interdimensional beings, man.
I don't know about that.
Yes. You watch the documentaries on them. Come on now.
You think that the Sasquatch?
It's on Netflix or maybe Amazon.
We're getting a little out there
Don't call
now.
me Bigfoot.
Even for me.
Don't call me Bigfoot. Watch it.
Okay.
I think
Change your life,
I think
man.
the aliens and the Sasquatches
Are
are
together.
in cahoots with one another.
Yes.
And they ride the Loch Ness monster into battle.
That'd be a good movie.
Well, isn't the
Do that.
Sasquatch like he's the leading hide and seek champion
Oh yeah,
for like
World
70
champion.
years?
I did watch Matt. So my wife's big on the Bigfoot thing, right? I think because her dad.
Don't call me Bigfoot.
No, I can't remember the name. We'll have to ask her. There was a name of one we watched on Amazon, and it was a couple of years old. But what was compelling in it, shockingly, I can't believe a Bigfoot documentary was compelling, is following these guys. They're older guys, and they all seem to be a little loose cannons on different stuff that are just living their life to chase the Bigfoot. Well, they end up getting the idea. This one guy swears that he'd seen the Bigfoot, and he gave up basically his whole life. He's a millionaire, gave up everything to go chase Bigfoot, live in the woods.
Why not?
So they end up getting a tracker, and they put it in like a we call it plastic container thing with food, stick it in the food, and they leave it out where they think Bigfoot is. And so they end up picking it up. Something eats it, and then they're tracking it, and it's moving super fast. And it's moving faster than human because it's literally climbing like a mountain. Like it's going up. So they're trying to get to it, and they're following the tracker. They follow it for hours and hours and hours. And finally it excretes it, right? And so they find the scat. Thank you. They find the scat, and they find the tracker in it. Well, they take samples of the scat and just soil and stuff around it, and they send it to this guy who in the beginning of the show refused to talk with them because he wasn't into the xenobiology stuff or whatever, cryptobiology. He was only interested in what he thought was real creatures. So they send it to him, and he apparently sends it to somebody and does get it analyzed. And then the guy calls them. The end of the documentary is they get called to this guy who had refused to talk to them, and he's all super nice to them all of a sudden, brings them in. And him and this other guy from some college had done an analysis on it, and it was from no known species, and it had human DNA in it. But it was not like just a straight human. It was like some hybrid. So instead of admitting there was Bigfoot, though, what they said was they thought maybe they had found a tribe of small humans that were hiding in the forest is what it was, some offset human derivative. And they were like, yeah, Bigfoot, that's what it is. So, but that was interesting because it was clear these guys were skeptics and they were scientists, and the evidence was accurate. It was not, it wasn't anything they could identify. So I don't know. I wish I could remember what the name of that documentary was. Madeline watches all them things all the time, a bunch of Bigfoot shows.
Tell you, man, change your life. Also watch Sassy the Sasquatch on YouTube. That'll also change your life.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Sasquatch.
on Amazon, I ran across a movie, and I can't even say it on here because I'll get bleeped on the title of it.
Then I know which one you're talking about. There's like two of them I've seen.
No, it was the Rockta blank is what it was.
Oh, I think I've
It was
heard of that
called
one too,
Rockta blank. I won't say the
I
blank.
thought you were going to talk about evil gingerbread man versus evil bong.
No, I don't know anything about that. That's interesting. Yeah, there we go. We got Josh is pulling up more pictures of the aliens.
No,
So here's a side note. You and I never talk about politics before, Justin. So you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. But I have a theory. Oh, there it is.
There you go, Jerry.
Gingerbread man versus evil bong. and Hell Road.
I'm pretty sure
with
this is
them.
up for an Emmy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I
at
think
least.
it's going to win an Academy Award or something. So there's a screenshot from it.
It looks great.
Pull
Looks
up
great.
Sassy the Sasquatch.
Hey, it's almost
I
as
dare
good
you.
as that a few months ago there was a movie Trolls was trending on Netflix and it was terrible.
That's it. Yeah, Sassy the Sasquatch.
That looks very interesting.
Oh no, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, before I tell you my political theory, I just thought of something I was supposed to promote. Don't forget, everyone, starting next weekend and the weekend after that, me and Mr. Huffman over here are going to be in Rocky Horror Picture Show, the rough-in production they do around every Halloween. They're doing only 2 weekends this year. It's the 20th and the 21st, I think, and then also the next weekend, whatever that weekend is.
27, 28.
27, 28. Tickets, I think, are $15. You can buy them in advance if you go to tiptonartscouncil.org. But come support local theater. Brian and I have questionable talent, but everyone else in the cast are very, very talented. It's a good
We've
show.
got some really good singers. This
We
go-round.
do. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's probably the best cast we've had. It's
Right.
they're very good. But we are reprising our roles. Brian will be Frankenfurter, and I will be Rocky. So you can come and make fun of us. It'll be a lot of fun.
You're not planning on getting injured again, right?
No, I'm not doing the splits this year. I had a goal by the year out to do the splits again, just so I did do the work and get back into it. But honestly, I'm so nervous about that specific muscle now because I can tell specifically which one it is. When I stretch, I'm so aware of it. I'm almost afraid, to even see if I could get back to that level of flexibility. So anyway, thank you for asking about it. Apparently your mama believes in Sasquatch, and she says that you and Justin are cousins, Brian. So congratulations.
All right.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
What I was going to say...
It's Tipton County. You meet surprise
Yeah,
relatives all the
that's
time.
true.
Oh, of course.
What I was going to say is here's what I think happened on the aliens. If you look at Trump, no matter if you like him, disagree with him, whatever, right? Back when he was president, he was in office. He had a list, and he literally tried to go down his list. He was going to do tax reform. He's going to do this. He's going to do health care, all this different stuff,
He
right?
was going to release the JFK files.
Yeah, so the only thing
Still
I
got
recall that he diverted from is all of a sudden he shows up one day with a press conference and he's like, we got to have a space force. Hey guys, we got to have a space force. And what I think happened is he saw the book and he was like, holy, we got to have a space force, like he saw what they know. And I just wonder if he actually knows, and that's why all of a sudden he wanted a space force, is because he saw there was some.
I was never read into those programs, so I don't know.
That's right. You're Air Force guy.
That's right.
Hey, speaking of that, did you ever see any of this stuff they all see now? They said they saw now?
No, I actually never. Well, not while I was in the Air Force. I did see a UFO one time, and that bad boy. It was me and my brother. We saw it, and it was coming low over the horizon, and it was low enough that that's not plane, but I never saw any navigational lights. So, it's way too low to be a satellite. And then it came over our heads. It was probably maybe 200 or 300 feet in the air. It was just a glowing orb, and when it went across over our heads, it turned and took off so fast that it blue shifted. And in physics, you have red shift and blue shift. As it went away, it blue shifted and was going boom, gone. And that's the first and only time I've ever seen a UFO. But when I was in the Air Force, I never really. I got struck by lightning and saw St. Elmo's fire and all kinds of stuff like that, but never saw a UFO.
Where were you mostly flying? I mean, you flew a lot of places, I know, but a lot of this seems to be over the Pacific.
Literally around the world.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Pacific,
the Atlantic, South China Sea. Hell, I flew to New Zealand. All throughout the South Pacific. Definitely over in Europe and the Middle East. Kosovo, so just everywhere. Only been shot at 3 times. Twice over the state of Arkansas.
I was only shot at twice as a cop that I know of, so I don't know if it's the same thing.
The chicken farmers do not like us flying over.
Oh, well, you said that earlier. That's something I was going to say. We were talking about AI. Justin was talking about it. And you're talking about how that their response might be based on what we do. Well, I guarantee you, if there's some AI, somebody in Memphis is going to shoot at it.
Yep.
And so that's going to be it. Like, it don't matter. If aliens came right now, somebody would go out and try to. They've got enough technology to travel, arguably, intergalactically, But somebody gonna go out there with a 357 or the 223, and they're gonna shoot at it. I
With
guarantee
a
you.
410 or
Some
something.
Mac 9.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be like, what? We got you.
Extended clip in a Glock.
Yeah. Well, we got sidetracked, but another, go back to that question I had. Is there anything else folks need to worry about on the cyber security front?
Yeah, so Facebook accounts are, so I've seen lots of stuff. So one of the issues when your Facebook account gets taken over is that it is very difficult to regain control of it. So Facebook's process is just, being honest, is trash. I mean, so you go to a computer system, you say, hey, I've lost access to my account. Usually it gets you in this loop where you can't get out of it, and then there is no way for you to talk to an actual person to say, hey, I am really who I am. So the best way to protect yourself is have a good password. Good passwords are usually passphrases. So
like password 123.
Oh yeah, that was. I could crack that one in probably 3 seconds. So a phrase. So like the donkey crows at midnight or something. Something that you can remember, but it's
Dang
super
it, now
long.
I gotta change mine.
I knew. Well, I've been sitting here hacking you with my little devices in the bag. While
I
so,
see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I use my pronouns in my password, and
Bet
it's
you do.
it's
Try me.
no, they don't know me, son. They don't know me, son. That's my pronouns.
Is that the Goggins pronoun?
Yeah.
Yep.
So a phrase then, huh?
Yeah. Or you do something called a multi-factor authentication. I think Facebook calls it 2FA, so
Right.
two-factor authentication. So where when you
Sends
try
you
to log
text.
in,
It sends it something
text.
else, and you got to follow up with it.
Well, text is really not that secure, so it's real easy to spoof a SMS, which is a text message. So usually if you have an authenticator app, like Microsoft has a good one, Google has a good one, so it will pop up a 6-digit code on that app. So you cannot authenticate into that program unless you have your physical device with that code. And the code cycles every 30 seconds. So like I could pull up mine right now, show you all the codes to all of my stuff, and it doesn't matter because they're just going to sit there. And so like you can see it there, it's got a little timer. It's like, here's all my accounts. So I set everything up with unique passwords and MFA because I'm paranoid.
Never remember any of those.
Well, that's why you use a
No.
password manager. So you have a password manager to remember all your passwords, and then you only have to remember the master passwords for that, and then you have access to all of your credentials for every service. And then most of them now have an app on your phone. It'll synchronize with Android and iOS. So if you go to a website, it'll just say, hey, you have this password stored. So I don't know any of my passwords except for that main one. And so that's the only one I have to remember.
Yeah, I typically use a derivative of the same type of password. But
Yes,
I think
everybody does, and that's how
yeah.
hackers get in.
Okay. So I probably shouldn't do that, I
And
guess.
so some other things that people do. So there's this whole concept called operational security. So it's like what you do in your life that makes you less secure. So one thing is you recycle passwords. Most every account that you sign up for, the username for those accounts are your email address. And so most people will use the same email address and same password for multiple services. So let's say you sign up for some questionable website that has very poor security. That website gets breached and they say, hey, your email is this at gmail.com. Here's your password.
You talking about bangbros.com?
No, not that one. The other one.
The other one.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to mess you up. I got distracted on that. He was thinking about, did I?
Like, oh, crap.
How do you
No,
know?
no. See, I don't even know my password.
Oh,
for that.
okay,
No,
okay.
but what they'll do is they get your password for that. They see your email address, and now I'm going to log into your email and start going through your email, saying, okay, who do you bank with? What other accounts do you have access to? Now that I have your access to your email, I'm going to go to your bank website, log in with probably the same credentials. Say, hey, I forgot my password, or I want to change my password.
Yeah,
I'm going to update it to an email I control, and then say, hey, now I have all your money. I can do whatever I want with it, and by the time you get access to the account again, I'm already gone. Nobody knows where I was, and it's game over.
Which is slightly different than ransomware. Ooh, that's
Well,
bad.
ransomware is pretty wicked.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask them about ransomware.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last time.
I think we did.
But go ahead.
Yeah, but so it's malware that will encrypt all of your files on your computer, and then they will say, hey, you got to pay us 30 Bitcoin or something to this wallet, and if you don't, we're just never going to give you the keys to decrypt it. And if they use strong enough encryption, I mean, even with supercomputers, you're talking thousands of years to try to crack the decryption on it. So most of the time, it's just wasted.
Did you hear about? I think it was MGM in Las Vegas recently got hacked.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
They paid
Caesar's
them.
Palace.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Caesar's paid.
That's
I
right.
think MGM
Caesar's.
hasn't paid, and so it's getting. And so what was funny is that happened like 3 weeks after DEF CON. So all the hackers were in Vegas, and then 3 weeks later.
Whoops.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, it probably wasn't DEF CON attendees because they know, hey, you don't defecate where you masticate, right?
Yes.
True.
Do
So-
you know
You
those words,
shouldn't.
Jerry?
You shouldn't do
Do
that.
you know those
That's
words,
right.
Jerry?
I do.
You shan't.
You shan't.
You shan't.
Well, you can chant, but you shan't.
Right. So it's more than likely some foreign state actors who did it, but the timing was just coincidence because most of the hackers that go to DEF CON are either security researchers or they're just people who are trying to do pranks. Like I can show you some pranks here in a minute with some of the devices I got.
Yeah, show some of the toys that you brought.
Yeah, I'll start breaking those up. But so yeah, I think MGM hasn't paid, and so they're offering people like ridiculous salaries to try to recover their data. And so they had supposed backups and everything, but if you are in data recovery, there's some good job opportunities at MGM.
Excellent. I am not in data recovery.
It's actually, it's one of those things that you kind of learn in digital forensics, and it's really not difficult. And
Right.
like one thing that people, and this may help y'all as lawyers, so most people don't know that when you try to delete files on a hard drive, you're not actually deleting the files. And so as long as that hard drive is not encrypted, I can come in behind you and recover every file off of that.
Yeah, so we have clients that we try to explain that to. If they get a phone, they think, oh, well, I deleted whatever on my phone, and the cops have it. No, they can go back and we are aware they can pull that up. One thing you may find interesting that Brian and I have dealt with now in a couple of cases, this is something that's happening pretty regular. And I wonder if DEF CON, if they said anything about it. But we have juveniles that come in and have sent their own photos to other people, right? And it ends up that maybe these other people are not other people they know or actual other real people. And so then they get blackmailed.
Yeah, extortion.
Yeah, they'll contact them and say, hey, I'm sending these photos of you to every... And it's straight up a felony because it's juveniles. But they're so scared to do it, they try to come up with the money and pay these people. Did y'all discuss that at all or heard of it?
Well, you hear about those things, but I don't think it was specifically taught at DEF CON.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the things I went to a lot of the competitions. Like they have a big hacking, they call it a CTF, so a capture the flag. So you got all these hackers that are going around and trying to break into systems, and you get points, and then they announce a winner at the end of it. So I tried to compete in a couple contests. So there was one called Hackman, and it made me learn that my skill set in hacking is not as up to par as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to improve that for next year. But I also did some things called Fox and the Hound, like you're doing RF ID tag tracking. So they'll put up a transmitter somewhere, and you have these radios where you try to pinpoint the location. You have to triangulate and see if you can locate it. So if one of y'all want to go to the Wi-Fi on your phone and see what Wi-Fi networks are available.
I don't know if I want to do that when you got that thing out that's got an antenna.
He's got a spoof Wi-Fi.
Oh, because it makes me nervous that you're going to try to look at my phone.
Never going to give you up. Never going to let you down. Come on, Jerry.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yes.
Yeah, so those are the Rickroll ones. But with this little device here, I can set up a spoofed Wi-Fi. So what if I wanted to?
So if somebody clicked on it, what would happen?
It
it's
attaches to that thing.
Yeah.
So
well,
then
I just stopped it.
But can you read what the device that's attached to it?
Well, with that particular attack, no. But if I were to set up, they call it a rogue access point. So what I would do is say, okay, because all this stuff's broadcast, so I can monitor the air, and see what your Wi-Fi name is. I can create one identical to it that I do control, and if you try to connect to that, then what you're going to do is inadvertently send me the password for your own Wi-Fi that I'm going to take and then be able to attach to your Wi-Fi and then start browsing around your network and seeing what I can find, load malware somewhere, or I could just put up a fake login page and say, hey, log into the Kickin Wi-Fi and see how many people give me their password. Now, this little device is a little bit more innocuous. So you turn this guy on, and it's battery powered. It's just a little Raspberry Pi. But what it does is it sits there and it sniffs the Wi-Fi, and it will try to capture what's called a handshake. So whenever your device tries to connect to the Wi-Fi, there's this whole handshake protocol that happens. And part of that handshake, it's going to pass those credentials. So what this thing does is it just sits there and it tries to grab that handshake, and then it'll store those hash values so I can come back later and, try to crack it offline. But you can see how small it is.
Yeah, that's scary that stuff is that small.
Yeah, and this thing has a range of probably 50, 60 feet.
So you could sit...
So you literally sit on the other side of that wall.
I was trying to show you.
Well, what I could do is I could put it in your parking lot and just leave it there and then come back the next day and grab it. I don't even have to come in the building.
Well, I was thinking, too, if you were in where a whole lot of people are, like event centers or airports and stuff like that.
During a convention.
Something
like
that small, you just sit there.
Oh, speaking about if you're around lots of people, if you want me to trigger something on all your phones, give me a second.
He's gonna pull up.
We'll break out the hardware here.
Just whatever pictures you pull off my phone, make sure when you put them online, it makes me look good.
Oh, I can't
make sure the angles are good.
It's not the hair curl.
Yeah.
It's okay, Jerry. I don't have any hair right there anymore.
Well, let me turn this guy off.
Mine's backing up. It's okay. I don't care.
So they call this thing a punagachi. So it's got a little face on there that changes, and so every time he has a facial expression change, that means he did something.
A punagachi.
Yeah. So
right now, Tamagotchi.
Yeah, I was just thinking different.
I bet you were.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
I was gonna say I've had one of those punagachis before.
Shouldn't that be punagacha?
So now the one thing I will say about the hacker community is that I do not do their branding. They need to contact Masonite Digital Marketing.
That's right. Yes, Masonite Digital Marketing.
But like this thing's called a Flipper Zero, and so this is a punagachi. Now what I got here, this is a version of Linux, and so one of the things that
we
was
really
discovered,
should go Linux. We really should.
Yeah, I don't know about any of this stuff.
Well,
I trust
Mac,
you on all that. So Brian is the
Unix
closest to a tech guy that we have. Brian's,
and my knowledge is early 2000s.
Yeah.
Win NT40.
Yeah.
Yes.
My knowledge is Tandy. We had a Tandy 1000.
I had a TRS-80, a Trash 80.
DOS was the
but I was pre-DOS. I learned BASIC. I know BASIC.
Right, so
our dad did all that stuff.
Well, we'll see what happens with this. This one is questionable whether or not it works. But it also takes a minute. But, at DEF CON, they found out that... so one of the things that you try to do to protect yourself is you put your phone in airplane mode because you're like, hey, I'm around questionable things. Let me put it in, airplane. Well, this guy I know, he kept getting these pop-ups saying, hey, this Apple TV wants to connect. And he was like, I have no idea how this... I'm in airplane mode, and turns out when you put it in airplane mode, the Bluetooth radio is still on, and it still listens to beacons. So, Josh, anything happen on yours?
Nope. Of course, I'm also watching the live stream, so I don't know.
Yeah, I got the live stream on mine, too.
Well, it still should pop up at some point. Basically, what this is going to do is it's probably the curse of a live demo. So anytime you demonstrate something, it usually doesn't work. But what it's supposed to do is pop up and give you a notification like some AirPods or something are trying to connect to you. If it doesn't work, may have to...
Well, it's just because mine is so heavily encrypted.
Oh, I doubt that.
It's ancient.
It's heavily encrypted with porn, so,
Yeah, well, this thing right here, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
what's it called, this one?
Well, this one they call it Apple Juice.
Apple Juice.
Yeah, because
so we can't
have normal names for anything.
We got a Punaguchi, a key. What is that thing? The other one?
It's a Punagacha.
What was this? What was the antenna one?
Oh, this is a flipper. Well, the antenna, that's actually something that I had to build because it doesn't come with Wi-Fi capabilities on its own, so I had to order a chip and then an
Well,
antenna.
it looks like you bought that thing like that, though, which makes me nervous that they sell those things. So you can just buy those? Like, what's the practical purpose of that other than malicious?
You can do a lot of testing with it. So it's actually like a Swiss Army knife of testing. So you can test, if you're getting bad Wi-Fi signal or something, you can walk around and use this to say, hey, I get better signal here, because it just, all it's doing is it's reading the Wi-Fi signal. But now what you intend to do with it is something totally different. So it's like, if you decide to use it for evil, then it will be done for evil. But
it's like martial arts. If you use it for noble causes,
that's right.
You're a Ninja Turtle, but if not, you're part of the Foot
Clan. If you follow
Bushido,
the way of the warrior, you're all right. But
I'm all about some bullshido.
But Yeah, it looks like this right here, man. Well, I may also have too much stuff interfering with it too. Hang on, let me turn off some of the.
And while he's doing that, I'll remind all of you again, if you didn't hear earlier, that we are doing the Rocky Horror Show again this October, the end of the month at the Rocky Horror at the Ruffin Theater here in Covington. So Brian will reprise his role as Frankenfurter. I will be back as Rocky. My wife Madeline is directing it, and there's a great cast. All the other people that are in it are much more talented than us, and you should come see it. Because they're very good. Brian's very talented too. I can't sing. I just run around and look like an idiot. But I'm real good at that part. But anyway, I think tickets are $15. Just get them online and come see us.
Yep.
Well, I'll try to restart this here. But yeah, so lots of havoc you can wreak with all this stuff, and especially nowadays everybody doesn't do hardwiring; they're all doing Wi-Fi, and it's just super susceptible because it's just in the air. So another thing that you could possibly do would be when you configure your Wi-Fi. So a lot of people run it, in the industry we call it running it too hot. So you're just running it at full signal strength because you're like, hey, if it's max strength, then I'm getting better Wi-Fi's, right? Well, what that's doing is it's expanding the range that can be detected. So I could go across the street and pick up your Wi-Fi more than likely. I could sit in your parking lot. You wouldn't even notice, hey, there's a random car that's been out there all day, and I could just be sitting there cracking into your Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And that's not just you, that's any business.
Yeah.
So most businesses don't know how to properly tune their Wi-Fi, so that's generally a problem. But this looks like it's not going to work, so
That's okay.
I'll hack the rest of your stuff.
It's still interesting. Yeah, you just hack it the old school way, right? Just hack Brian's. He's the one that's still going to have. He had security clearances and stuff, so.
Oh, so you know what a skiff is?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I worked in a skiff. Hand technology to get in that bad boy too. Hand scan and.
That was back in the day. Now it's
Yeah.
probably like DNA checking you when you touch your
Iris
finger
scan.
or something.
I don't know.
like that.
Apparently, you just go to certain people's bathrooms and you find that data.
Happens.
Think about it, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, we're working on an hour, actually, believe it or not. But I was good to see you again, Justin.
Yeah.
And as always, we'll have you come on and give us cybersecurity updates and whatnot. And my heart goes out to your wife's family and everything, too, hopefully.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
His wife's from Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine, by the way. It's just Ukraine.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. Anyway,
I
I don't
studied
mean to cut us off, but I have to go buy some high heels. So that's a true story. For the Rocky Horror thing, I don't have any high heels, and
It's like, sorry guys, can't keep this going. I got to do something.
I got to go do some
manly.
shoe shopping, manly shoe shopping. Yeah, I told you what our pronouns were. Yeah. Anyway, but thanks for being on the show today,
Absolutely.
Justin, and thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to the content. We're on all social media platforms, all podcast platforms. We appreciate that. We don't make money on this, so please. Give us a like and a follow. We're also on TikTok. You can go over there and make fun of my hair. That's what most people do. It's great. N.A. the Band's album Inside My Head is still out and available for free wherever you stream music. So
Is it
please
Inside Your
follow
Head?
those guys. It may be. I don't know. It's a good song. Michelle Allen's longtime sponsor. She's your go-to in the area if you're buying, selling, renting, leasing real estate. Just holler at old Michelle Allen. She's also good local community leader. She's a good person. So check her out. Mason's High Octane Martial Arts in Covington. Been there for 30 years, and we just opened a location in Millington. You can visit masonsmartialarts.com. We've been in business 30 years, so we're doing a $30, 30-day, $30 sign-up thing. So check that out. Jam Books and Records is going to hopefully open soon. Eventually maybe have a recording studio, but you can check us out online and see what we got coming as soon as we get that place open. And then Masonite Digital Marketing, Josh is glad to help you with your online presence, branding, social media marketing, website design, commercials,
Hacking.
etc. MasoniteMarketing.com.
He builds in back doors.
So again, I want to
Be
thank Brian for barging in and Justin Wallace for being here with us, and we'll see you guys next time on another Law Talk. Keep kicking. Thanks for watching, guys. Just remember that this is not legal advice or investment advice or business advice. This is for fun and entertainment purposes only.